Ransomware, deadly thing, man. It's taking over this country. It's getting more and more devastating. Not much you can do about it. Doesn't seem to be anybody taking it serious. Yeah, I mean, ransomware is not new. It's been around since like the 80s, I think it has been. We had a wave of all those hits not long ago with WannaCry, which was the biggest at the time, and so many variants of that. It just seems to be hitting. And the biggest thing it seems to be getting in through is the easiest way is through phishing emails. People clicking on a link in an email, and I think it was the WannaCry one where it could have been, and that one I think infected like hundreds of thousands of computers and stuff like that. And basically, the thing with that is it could have been prevented, or not so wide scale, if people would have just done updates. Nobody wants to do updates. Some people have it set automatically, but you still got to check that stuff. I prefer to do it manually. My updates. That's why I know what's going on, because a lot of times I've noticed the first thing what I do is when I do an update, I click on the little Windows thing in the bottom left and I open it up. And a lot of times I've seen apps be installed on there, and then I got to go through and remove them. So they're tricky that way. And the other thing too is I check my settings again, because sometimes they get changed or whatever. I mean, these are all little things you got to check. Ransomware. A lot of people think, well, it's just going to go to big corporations or stuff like that, but it's all over the news. And the sad thing is like the first thing with technology and networking and stuff like that is I've talked about a lot of outdated stuff. And we talk about, monopolies and stuff like that, where companies just dominate everything. And the thing with the Colonial Pipeline is that ran the whole East Coast. Now, how can you have that, just one, have that much power? And recently we just had this JBS beef company shut down. Apparently one of the biggest, the main one that provides the beef. I think one happened not long ago. Another one happened. I think it was right around the time when people were talking about the that burger, that veggie burger, whatever. I forget what it was, plant burger or something like that. I think it was right around the time that was starting to talk big and stuff like that. But the problem is getting back to the network stuff and everything like that. A lot of this they have topologies and stuff like that. Ring, star, hybrid, bus topology. A lot of these are outdated technologies because of the way they were set up and because of the cabling and stuff like that. And with the bus topology and stuff, the way it's set up and stuff like that, where a lot of these topologies would be either set into, well, we don't use hubs anymore either, but a lot of the way these networks were set up, where they'd all be attached to a hub. And if the hub goes out, then the whole network goes out. Or if one computer would go out, some of these networks topologies, the way they were set up, if one computer would go down, the whole network would be going down and stuff like that. And it seems to be the way this system is set up with what's going on with this ransomware attacks. Schools are being hit, healthcare facilities, hospitals are being hit. I mean, we're getting hammered with this stuff, and it's just going to be a matter of time before we're completely shut down in this country. And it doesn't seem to be too much seriousness going on. $5 million is what Colonial paid, which isn't much for them. They've got billions of dollars and stuff like that. The CEO and the high-end C-suite of these companies and stuff like that, $5 million isn't nothing to these guys. And there's no accountability for this. They just pay it. So no big deal. So they paid the $5 million. It's no loss to them. They raised the gas prices to $4 a gallon. They get that money back in a couple days, and there was no punishment to it. Even if they get fined, the taxpayers are still going to pay the cost because, okay, well, say we pay $35 million fine. Okay, no big deal. We'll make that back in less than a week. So it's no loss. There's no accountability. There's no seriousness to it. And I see a lot of talk, and I've seen a lot of talk online where they need to start taking action against these C-suite people. Start putting them in jail. If you're the CEO or the CFO or anything like that, CTO or anything of these large corporations, and your company gets hit with a breach or a ransomware attack, and it costs lots of money and stuff like that, then they need to be penalizing these people. They need to be freezing their accounts until an investigation is done, and then they need to start putting these people in jail. That's the only way it can get serious. Um, there's no preparation for any of this stuff. It's just, okay, well, we'll pay the $5 million, get the ransom back. Well, they didn't get their files back, my understanding. And there's a new one I just came across where it's a new kind of ransomware I saw. I forget. I think not the Russians. Somebody was doing where it's a malware wipe or something like that. Wipe malware or something it was called. Um, what it does is it's almost like a Trojan horse sort of thing. Um, just the way the Trojan horse acts and stuff like that. With you know, it's not exactly what you think it is. But how this works is it comes across like it's ransomware, but it's already wiped the files, and there's no way of knowing this because automatically you think, okay, well, I'm being hit with ransomware. So, and the thing with Colonial, that happened. They didn't get their files back, or the decryption key won't work, and stuff like that. I mean, these decryption keys that they have, and the algorithms that these people write for this malware and stuff like that are massive amount of bits. And it's a shame. I mean, what's going on? They're all coming for us in this country. Sure, we do it and stuff like that. We attack other countries. I saw where somebody brought up the one that NSA Stuxnet. Stuxnet was 11, 12 years ago or something like that, and that was actually a worm. Um, Although some ransomware does act like a worm, similar in comparison, but not really. How it gets into networks, but it can get into a network anyway. Biggest thing apparently is the phishing emails where people click on, that. Look at that John Podesta with Hillary Clinton's campaign way back when, and all those emails got released. He clicked on a link and said nothing happened. It wasn't taken serious, no big deal. That just fell by the wayside. And here's what's going to happen. Eventually, these ransomware people are just going to get tired. They're going to get bored, and they're going to hit us all at once. They're getting aggressive. They're getting in, and it's basically exposing how weak we are in this country when it comes to technology. We don't focus on the important parts of this. We don't get involved in the seriousness of what it can be because when things happen, as time goes by, then we get lax and we just go back to doing things normal again. Like with 9/11, when that happened. It got serious after a while, then it started dying down. As time went by, a year or two or something like that, they say, well, you got to live your life. You can't just keep going on. We can't sit back and let this kind of thing happen. Updates, they say, is the easiest way to do it to stop the ransomware. But you look at these high-end industries that are being hit with that. And I mentioned the topologies because of the seriousness of it. I mean, this Colonial Pipeline thing was a major feeder. I mean, how can you not have a backup plan in case something like that happens? Or say one of the major things got struck by lightning or something, and they had to shut down the pipeline or something like that. I mean, there's no backup to, okay, well, we got to shut this company down. Let's get the fuel from here. Let's get the oil from here or something like that. There's no backup. We always learn the hard way. We constantly learn the hard way in this country. And a lot of it's simple fixes and stuff. And the next thing that's going to happen is where people are going to start not being able to access their bank accounts. These people, and they keep saying it's, advanced persistent threats and stuff like that, and state attacks and stuff like that, which are major attacks by, you got to have a lot of equipment. You got to have a lot of not common knowledge, but you got to be serious when knowing coding and all that kind of stuff and how to write this kind of malware and stuff like that, do this kind of stuff. And it's got to have a lot of money to back it up to run these networks to do this kind of attacks and stuff like that. And they keep saying, well, Russia's doing it, China's doing it, but we're still doing business with these countries. They're shutting us down, they're doing damage on us and stuff, and we're still doing business with them. We're still sending jobs over to these countries. Not Russia, but China and stuff like that. So they don't care. They're just laughing at us. They're all getting together. Korea, Russia, China, and all these countries are getting together, and they're coming at us at once. We got nobody sticking up for us. We're on our own. Nobody looking out for us. I mentioned the Stuxnet thing, and the NSA had written a good bit of that, and Israel intelligence, I think, was behind it, and I think somebody else was behind it or something like that. A combination of the two or three that wrote that kind of thing. And the biggest thing with that, and that got leaked. Um, Somehow, good portions of that got leaked, and how that wrote that code. And I think that's what happened with WannaCry. I think that's how WannaCry came about. Was bits of that came about, and so we basically got ripped on that deal. It's coming. I mean, there's another term for jackpotting, which is happening in foreign countries, in small things where money starts spitting out of ATMs and stuff like that. And eventually, they're just going to get some of these people, like I keep saying, they're just going to get bored, and they know what's going on with our network and how weak this network is, and how outdated our network is, and not just the government, not just military functions or hospitals or anything like that. Everyday businesses. You go into a hospital. I've gone into doctors' offices and hospitals and stuff like that, and I've seen it where people are on their phone, doctors and everything. They're on their phone, they're checking their Facebook. Um, they're sitting behind a desk on computers, company computers, and they're on Facebook checking their things. I mean, that's got to stop. We got to stop coddling these people. All that can be blocked. I mean, that's networking 101 setup on how to block all that stuff, to external and internal networking and stuff like that. I mean, that's 101. You don't need to be a CISO or a CISP or anything like that. Any of those high advanced certifications to know this stuff. It's basics. Um, it's like I said, the jackpotting thing. It, it could happen. It could just go nationwide where, I mean, how are you going to arrest everybody? You're just going to look at cameras? What they could do is they could just disable the cameras. I mean, you're talking, man, you're talking some serious chaos when Mac machines, I call them Mac machines, but they're ATMs. But when they start spitting out money nationwide, I mean, I don't know how many. Say there's 100,000 ATMs or 200,000 ATMs nationwide. I mean, I'm sure there's got to be at least that many. They seem to be everywhere. Just by the banks, though, just the outside banks ones, not the ones that you see in the gas stations or the malls or anything like that. Not those ones, or even maybe even if those did. But let's say a million ATMs just started spitting out money nationwide all at once. I mean, can you imagine the chaos of that and trying to get it there? I mean, that's just how do you pay that back? What are banks going to do? They're going to lock your accounts out. What are banks going to do? Freeze everybody's account until they start getting the money back? Well, now you're looking at a bigger disaster. Now people can't. Now you're going back to you know pre-technology where people don't use cash anymore. We're headed that way. We're headed for a disaster. Um, and we don't seem to take it serious. And it's all simple fixes. It's all simple fixes. The original when it came to TCP/IP, when it first came out, before internet or anything like that, before the whole World Wide Web and all the nonsense that's on there now, the original TCP/IP suite was initially for the military and high government officials and stuff like that. In case they lost communication, they would still be able to communicate through this TCP/IP suite. You can look it up on YouTube for a documentary, um, and see that kind of thing. It's gotten ridiculous. I might look it up and start putting. I try to come across some good ones, and I try to add it to my list of videos on here and stuff like that. But that's something to think about. A lot of people don't think about that stuff or anything like that until it hits. Look what happens when Facebook goes down. People run to Twitter all the time and they're freaking out because Facebook is down. Could you imagine if you can't access your bank accounts for 2 months and this COVID's over, so the government's not going to help you? They're going to help corporations. Biden, I think, is putting the money aside for Colonial, 700 and something $1 billion or something like that. He's putting aside for them, or a million or something like that. He's putting aside. I saw something today, scrolling through on Twitter, but it's gotten serious. And I've mentioned this in earlier videos. They're not taking the hiring. I see it on LinkedIn all the time. And hiring, these companies are not hiring. Even small companies, they're not hiring anybody. And I see every day on LinkedIn, people are passing their certifications. They're getting their Network Plus. They're getting their Security Plus. They're getting their junior pen testing certifications and stuff like that every single day. And some of them share their stories of what they went through and stuff. I failed it. It's the second time I failed it. Third time's the charm and stuff like that. So, they're serious on what they want to get it. I spent all weekend going through it. My study guide, I should have done this before, but, I had a lot of setbacks with 2019 and 2020 and stuff like that, but I'm finally able to focus now, and I'm slowly moving forward and stuff. But I started going through every chapter, writing down the questions, and then write down the answer. I'm writing it down in a notepad and a notebook, and it helps me. That's one way that it helps me to do that kind of stuff. To get that, there's 20 chapters in this book. Four of them are really the ones that I have a difficult for. I think it's chapter 6, 7, 8, and 9, or a lot of it's subnetting. IP protocol, stuff like that. A lot to do with that kind of stuff, with the IP configurations and the subnetting stuff and the IP addresses, the class addresses and stuff like that. Trying to get that all try to memorized, and because a lot of the questions are like this. Different static IP addresses and private IP addresses. And during this range and this range, if you get an IP address like this, why can't you connect to the internet and stuff like that? There's a lot of that involved that I really got to focus on. If I can, the other stuff I can kind of pick up and stuff like that, but if I can really master these chapters 6, 7, 8, and 9, if I could really master these chapters, I'm going to blow through that Network Plus thing. But again, with the ransomware, you go through this technology and you go through the network guides and you go through the Security Plus guides and the A Plus guides, and all these people are getting certified. And you look at, and I get it's a little more complicated than that for now, but a lot of times it doesn't seem it's more like complicated. Just by you get an email and you click open a link, and it's constantly been beaten into people's heads about not clicking on these links in these emails and stuff. There's another thing too I saw in the local news just recently, and apparently there's apps that can do this where they spoof the phone numbers. Where you'll get a phone call, it might be from your daughter or your wife or something like that. You'll look at the phone, oh, my daughter's calling, and you'll pick it up and answer, and it'll be a criminal on the other end saying, "I have your daughter," or "I have your kid," or something like that, and they're going to be harmed or killed, or you're never going to see them again if you don't pay this kind of money or something like that, and that kind of thing. So, and I've heard you can download apps that can do this kind of stuff. I hate apps. I just outright hate apps in general, but we're forced to use them. For one thing, they kill the battery. Whether they're running in the background or not, they just kill the battery on these phones and stuff like that. And I still, I'm still old school with websites and stuff like that. But, it's a sign of the times using these apps. But yeah, like I said, you've got to check this stuff. You got to if you're on your laptop and stuff like that, you've got to scroll the cursor over these URLs and look at them, or right click them and open them up in a different browser, open a new tab or something like that, or just copy the URL and just go to your browser and paste it up in there and then open it that way and stuff like that. Simple things for that. There's URL scanners where you can check these URLs. You can copy the URL, put it in, and it'll run a scan on it, and it'll let you know, if it's got any reports on this stuff, and it'll let you know if it's bad or not. Pictures are the same way. Fake pictures and stuff like that have things embedded into them and stuff like that. When you click on a picture, there's hidden things underneath that. I've done it. Steganography is what it's called. I've done it using PowerPoint a couple years ago, setting up a website. What I did was I put the link into the photo of the website. This way, you know how sometimes you click on somebody's profile pic or something like that? Well, it would be the same way. You'd click on, it wasn't any malware or anything like that, but I know a lot of people like to click on the profile picture and stuff like that, and what it would do, it would take it right to the website, that kind of thing. So it just opened up our website for nothing but it was pretty simple. I'm not good at using PowerPoint or anything like that, but I was messing around with it a couple years ago for things, and I learned how to do that. And you got to be careful with this stuff. Ransomware, like I said, ransomware is a deadly thing. I've said it for years and years and years about people. They're worried about nuclear war and stuff like that, and missiles and tanks and stuff like that. And I said, oh, that's not the problem. I said the most dangerous thing in the world is what almost everybody has. Almost everybody has a cell phone, for one thing. And you look at cell phones, they're used for IEDs. They're killing our soldiers just by cell phones. Simple things like that are killing soldiers and destroying our military equipment just by a cell phone. The simplicity of these things, and nobody talks about this stuff. Your little mouse that you use, your laptop and stuff like that. These are the most powerful tools in the world that almost everybody has and are on them all the time. I barely watch TV. I'm always on my laptop, trying to research stuff and update and trying to connect on LinkedIn and stuff like that. But you got to be careful with this stuff. You got to pay attention. It can't be like, well, I ain't gonna worry about it. You know what? You know, why are people gonna ransomware me? They do it. They set up these botnets and stuff like that, and they build these army of computers and stuff like that. And I used to tell people that they don't care about your kids' birthday pictures, or they don't care about what you had for lunch or anything like that. They want your connection to your laptop, and they want to use that to infect other members of your friends and family and stuff like that are on your Facebook page and stuff like that. And even simple things with photos and stuff like that. People are worried about losing their photos on their laptop and stuff like that. And I told one girl one time a couple of years ago, I told her, I said, do you post a lot of stuff on Facebook and stuff? She goes, yeah, I post when we go out and stuff, all that kind of stuff. I said, well, there's your pictures. I says, if you can't find your pictures on your laptop or anything like that, you've got them on Facebook. And she goes, wow. She goes, you know what? I never thought about that. Little things like that, little simple things like that may seem stupid, but it when people don't know it, when they don't think like that, you got to think like a hacker. You got to think like a network person all the time. That's why I always say you got to learn the basics. You got to learn the basics when it comes to stuff like that. You're not going to be able to master ransomware. You're not going to be able to attack ransomware or anything like that. But at least you know the basics of how to prevent viruses, what to look for when you when you go to websites and stuff like that, how to check things, how to check validation and stuff like that on websites, how to make sure, looking at URLs and stuff like that, looking at this, looking at that, how to understand that stuff. And these little things, these little simple tricks and stuff like that will help you not get hacked. And as I build on this video and stuff like that, hopefully I build more subscribers and stuff like that. I'm looking into getting a lot of people like these fancy videos where they open up these big explosions and all this music going on and stuff like that. And I never really like those videos because they take it away from the point of the whole thing. I've clicked on videos where in the beginning where I wanted to learn something, and it would go on for like 5 minutes, and I'd be like, look, just do what the video says. Talk about what the video says, and they go on about 5, 6 minutes. I got to fast forward 5 or 6 minutes into the video just to get to the point of what I want to see in the first place. And over time, it just gets agitating to where I don't even go back to that channel. But I'd like to get a lot of subscribers and stuff like that. And I'd like to get 1,000 subscribers, and I'd like to get 4,000 views. I am looking into video editing and stuff like that to make the videos a little more interesting and stuff like that, but not too much. I don't have time during the week. Over the weekend, I was busy with my study guide and stuff like that, trying to get that prepared and going through the questions. I'm going to do a little bit more tonight. It's already, almost 8:30 here. So, time flies by. The weekend went by too quick for me, but I'm focused on getting that Network Plus. And I'm going to look into video editing and stuff and see if I can get a basic free one, pretty simple, make little interesting videos and stuff like that. And the biggest thing is I want to get to a tutorial thing where I believe you got to do a screenshot, and then I can show people how to do this, how to do that, what this looks like, what that looks like, how to avoid this, how to avoid that, things that I use, the techniques and tricks that I do to look for URLs, to look for videos, to look for pictures and stuff like that, and how to avoid these scams and stuff like that. You know, I see a lot of with the elderly getting scammed and stuff like that. Nobody looking out for them and stuff, and they're getting their bank accounts wiped out and stuff. And that's where I want to build these tutorials. Eventually, I want to get business cards set up and hand them out to people and stuff like that, where they can contact me via email and go from there and set up a way to where I can help them, you know, just do simple things and stuff like that. I used to do it before I moved down here in another place I lived and stuff like that. I used to do it. I used to do troubleshooting and stuff like that, and I always did it for $40. Um, you know, simple troubleshooting and stuff like that, because I've mentioned this in the past with the booting of computers and stuff, where people don't notice simple stuff. You go to a shop, and I would show people, here's what you're going to pay when you go to a shop. It's going to cost you $100 to do this kind of thing. So I always did it for $40, and I'd have it back to them the next day or that same day. Usually that same day or the very next day, if it was a simple thing. If it wasn't a hardware or firmware situation or anything like that, where I'd have to go in and solder it and do that kind of thing. I don't have the tools for that kind of thing. I don't have the electrical equipment to go in and test it and stuff like that. But most of the time, it's not that kind of stuff. I could open up a laptop or something like that, look in there and see if something came loose or anything like that. That's why I know, okay, fine. And what I would do is, if I didn't know something, I would go to YouTube and I would look up a video and I would learn how to do it. This way, next time I knew how to do it, or I'd write it down. I would download pamphlets and stuff like that on how to do that stuff. This way, now I know. It would help me, you know, do the troubleshooting and stuff like that. With cell phones, the same way. You know, all that kind of stuff always helps you long term. You know, instead of waiting for I mean, most of these shops aren't doing anything fancy. They're not doing tricks or anything like that. A lot of it is simple do-it-yourself stuff. So, like I said, I'm working on getting I want to get a free video editor and stuff like that to do tutorial videos and stuff like that, show you guys how to do simple stuff and everything like that. And it may seem tedious, it may seem boring, and it's like, I'm not doing that. I'm not going through all that stuff like that. But I'm telling you, it's going to save you in the long run, because a lot of people say, well, I'll just go buy another computer. Well, you can go buy another computer, but if you didn't back your stuff up, you're not going to get your stuff off of your old computer. Now you've lost everything. That's why you've constantly got to do backups. You got to do backups the proper way. Um, you know, and stuff like that. It gets costly going out buying computers and stuff like that, replacing hard drives and stuff. You know, a lot of times hard drives ain't any easy. Sometimes you can open them up and they're sitting right there. Other times you got to take this apart, take that apart. I've practically had to take the whole laptop apart just to get to the hard drive. That's how buried in there it was. Um, and unless you've never done this sort of thing before, if you don't put that stuff right, or you short it out, or you're not grounded or anything like that, you short something out, and now you got a big problem to do this kind of stuff. Now you're gonna have to go buy another laptop. And depending on what kind of laptop you had, I mean, you might be spending $600-700, or you just go to Walmart and put it on layaway. But now you're waiting, that kind of thing. You know, and it's just time consuming. It just seems a shame that they have to do that every time. So just bear with me. Watch my videos, subscribe, share them, and stuff like that. Try to get me some subscribers. Try to help me out, and I'll do my best to help you guys out. And try to keep you safe online as best as I can. And bring what I do to you, and we'll go from there. Thanks.